solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States.
I spent 3 days of my adult life from between graduating high school to going to the Naval Academy. And then you fast forward to that point in time, and the military was what I knew. Being a military officer is what I knew. I knew me as me, the naval officer. I didn't know me as me. And that's the self-awareness. That's the reflection that had to happen. Because up to that point, my personal values were honor, courage, and commitment. Now it's autonomy, connection, impact, and security. A little bit different, right? The core values of the military, of each individual service, absolutely matter, right? Because they provide the foundation, they provide the bedrock for those services to do what they do. And they mold men and women into warriors. And that's exactly what's supposed to happen. What they don't do is help you know yourself better. And give you that time and space to say, yeah, this is who I am. This is what matters to me. This is why it matters. And this is what I want to do about it.
Why do you think that is?
Because the military, by design, was created to engage in and to fight wars and win. Right? So they're machines by design. And as a result, they need to have that structure. They need to have that stuff in place because they take civilians and make them into warriors. So that's why it matters. But the interesting part is when you start thinking about transition, whether it's 8 weeks with the Navy, 16 weeks with the Marine Corps, and everything in between, plus 4 years at a Naval Academy or an Air Force Academy or at West Point, you've got these indoctrination periods that mold men and women into the warriors that our country needs and wants. But on the backside of things, you don't have 6 weeks. You don't have 4 years. You don't have that stuff to transition from that warrior mindset to that civilian mindset. That's actually when I got into the sport of triathloning. Good or bad, because at the time, didn't even have a bike, and I really hadn't swam for any distance since I was a senior at the Naval Academy. So jumping into the sport of triathlon and really diving into a half Ironman to say, yeah, this is what I need, because I need to create time and space. So that way I could reflect on who I am, what matters to me, and everything else. And when you think about the sport of triathlon in and of itself, there's actually 2 deliberate transitions in the sport. And it actually helps you be more mindful, right? Because you've got the swim. And you know what? If you don't finish the swim, if you're not present in the swim, the rest doesn't matter. Right. And then you've got a mindset shift between, okay, you know what? I've been in the water. Now I'm getting on the bike. And similarly, you know what? If you don't finish the bike, the run doesn't matter. So it allows you or enables you to be present in the present, but also the time and space just to train for that kind of stuff. It helps you mentally. It helps you physically. It helps you socially. And it really helps you spiritually. And all of the components of being resilient. I am not built like the average triathlete. So very often I get asked, hey, why do you do triathlons? And my response is normally the same. If you want to be able to do hard things in your life, you have to do hard things in your life. You can't hope yourself through a triathlon. You can't hope yourself through a presidential range traverse or an Appalachian Trail hike or whatever it is. So the first part of resilience is a mindset piece, right? You have to have established goals. And there's folks out there that are like, you know what, goals, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? They may be right for them. But If you want to be the most resilient version of you, you need to understand who you are, right? It requires self awareness. You have to have a defined definition of success for you. And then you have to have goals or mile markers that are going to get you there. So, but you also have to commit yourself to those goals, to that definition of success. So there's a mental toughness part of resilience. There's a grit part of resilience. So when I think about resilience, I've got a mantra. How's your mind? How's your body? How's your tribe? And how's your why? So mindfulness, your mind, clarity of what matters, and where you want to go. And how do you get or create that clarity on a recurring basis? That's why I'm a mindfulness practitioner. That's how you gain clarity. And then one of the things that was absolutely like an empowering experience, I went through a transition program called Operation New Uniform down in Jacksonville, Florida, and super helpful. What was the most helpful part of it was an exercise that I recommend for every transitioning military man or woman. They call it an ACEs exercise, where you would actually think about who are your ACEs, who are the people that always answer your call any time of the day or night to give you the insight that you're looking for, the perspective that you need, and the accountability that needs to be in your life. Right? Who are those 5 people? And then asking those 5 who their 5 are. And then you have 25 conversations about, hey, what do you do? Why do you do it? And you get to talk to some amazing people, right? From canine police officers to craft brewery owners to CrossFit gym owners to IBM executives to you name it. And the awesome part of it is because they're like one layer removed from what I call your quick reaction force. They're already vetted. They're already good dudes and dudettes. So you're going to get the information that's going to help you make decisions. And that was super helpful for me. It gave me some of the courage. Most of the courage, Billy, it didn't come from me. Most of the courage came from the people around me and the people that, starting with my wife, and my wife, my dog, and just the people that I surrounded myself with. Because I surrounded myself with people who energized me, but also who challenged me to be better. And that's one of the big lessons learned for me is being intentional about the people you surround yourself with. Because if you're going to surround yourself with people who are going to challenge you to be better, you're by default, by design, you're going to get better.
How did you start growing into this new version of you that was outside of the military while also having the reverence and respect for what the military was, like as a springboard into who you are? Because I think that a lot of veterans, when they transition out, they do one of 2 things. And it's because it's always a game of extremes for people transitioning out of the military. They either are like, the military is their entire identity when they leave the service, or it's they throw everything out. Like, it's like I was never even in. And I don't think that either of those are very healthy. And so what was your experience like in that regard?
So I would call it, instead of a transition from how much of a part my military experience played in how I interacted, it was more of an evolution. And I can actually look at it chronologically in some of the PowerPoint presentations I have. And what do I mean by that? Because you would have like an intro slide. And very often, the first thing that you are, at least I would say that I'm a husband. And then it would say I'm a retired military officer. And then it would go down the list. Now, when I introduce myself, hey, tell me about you. I'm an outdoor enthusiast. I'm a husband first. I'm an outdoor enthusiast. I'm a washed up rugby player. I'm a washed up lacrosse player. I'm a recreational triathlete. I'm an aspiring bourbon steward. I'm a Traeger grill guy. I'm a mindfulness practitioner. I'm a certified ICF professional coach, and I'm a retired military officer.
Would you say that building that group of mentors is the most important thing that someone can do when they're transitioning?
So I think building your network, and your network actually includes other people besides mentors. I think, in my experience and the experience of others, because I've had the opportunity to work with transitioning veterans, with American Corporate Partners, with Camp Southern Ground, and a couple other organizations. You talked about the difference between a game of miles versus a game of inches. The first place you start is your quick reaction force. Those 5 or 10 people that always have your back. And you got to let them know that they're part of it, right? You need to let them know that they're part of your quick reaction force and what your expectations are. And you'll be surprised because people will be like, yeah, I'm all in for that. And then there's an openness and kind of a vulnerability piece to that. Because what are quick reaction forces? What do they do for those people not in the military? When you are in an operational environment, there's always a quick reaction force that is set for when things go sideways. And those men and women come to provide the support that you need. On ships, we had 2 different kind of quick reaction forces. One was for fires, like damage control, and then one was for anti-terrorism force protection reasons. So everybody that I know understands the concept of QRFs, quick reaction forces. But you talked about mentors. We absolutely need them. But we also need sponsors, right? And the difference between mentors and sponsors is mentors show us the way, right? Because we have similar values, similar expectations, similar priorities. And the big difference between a mentor and a sponsor is that a sponsor not only is a mentor, right? They show us the way, but they also have the ability to clear the way for us and provide opportunities that we may not see. Those are the ones that are going to be behind closed doors talking to other people on our behalf to provide us the opportunities that we may want and may not even realize that we want. So you've got mentors and sponsors who are part of that network. And then you got what? Energizers. Those people that you know that when you interact with them, you are going to come out of it and you're going to be better from it, right? You're going to be more energized. You're going to be more focused and all that stuff. Making sure you have 1 or 2 or 3 of those that you can plug into on a regular basis. Because like you said, transition, whether it's from the military, whether it's career, whether it's life, there's going to be bumps, there's going to be roadblocks, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be challenges. And sometimes, you know what? You just need that USB-C that you need to plug into. And then you need the connectors, right? There's people out there that are connected to other people. And you need to get connected with the connectors so that way you can expand the network that you have. And then there's the standard kind of stuff, right? You need to have the trusted professionals in the area that you think you want to go into. And when you have the trusted professionals, you've got those colleagues that you can really spend time with. And then you've got connectors, you've got energizers, you've got sponsors, you've got mentors. That's a pretty expansive list. But the key is to start small and get bigger. And the other part of that a successful network is, I like to say, it's your personal positioning report that you provide to them. It's like, hey, Billy, this is where I'm at, right? Providing your reality. This is where I want to go, or this is where I think I want to go. And this is why I think I want to get there. And this is kind of how I'm doing, which is the vulnerability part, right? I need the atmospherics. You know, it's kind of windy out here. The seas are rough. This is what's going on. And then finally, making yourself easy to help. What are your support requirements right now? What can that person do for you? Make yourself easy to help, because very often, particularly in the veteran space, people are always willing to help. I've never had an instance when a veteran was would not provide the support I was looking for. And the key is making yourself easy to help by being specific on what your support requirements are. And then something really simple. When somebody takes the time to help you, to provide support, to connect you with whoever that person is, say thank you. Whether it's a phone call, whether it's a text, whether it's an email, it doesn't matter. Just say thank you. Reflection. And which is also something that a lot of military men and women are not good at because we're used to moving, we're used to doing, and pausing and jumping into that mindfulness space is not something that is emphasized. It's emphasized a little bit more now than it was before. But when I look at the 5 stumbling blocks of people in career and life transition, the first one is self-awareness, defining your values, defining your current priorities, and also defining how you define success for your transition, right? What does a successful transition look like for you? Because change, going from the military to whatever you do next, that's a fact of life. It's going to happen to everybody in the military at one point or another, whether it's 4 years or 40 years. So change is a fact. Transition is a choice. Transition is all about the choices we make, about the changes we experience. And so understanding what that success looks like for you and taking the time to define it is the first step. And then what's the next roadblock is self-management, which is tied to self-awareness. Because we haven't defined what matters to us, we can't be intentional about what we do with our energy, effort, and attention. So our self-management isn't where it needs to be because our awareness isn't where it needs to be. And then change versus transition. We talked about it. So very often it gets confused. And then the other thing that military men and women get confused is, and we talked a little bit about it earlier, the difference between resilience and perseverance. Because there's a difference, right? Perseverance is our ability to keep going and going and going. I always think about that man or woman that's running up the stadium steps and then continues to do it, or throws that pack on and rucks for how many miles, does whatever, right? That's perseverance. Resilience is, I like to call it perseverance with emotional intelligence, right? It's having the understanding or having the awareness of when your perseverance, your commitment, your endurance is no longer serving you in a positive way, right? When your grit hits the fan. And then you're not changing your why, but changing your how. So resilience is the ability to lean into adversity, lean into those obstacles, lean into those challenges, and come out better on the other side. It's not about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward. So knowing when to pivot to do different things. And finally, the last one is a fear, an innate fear to ask for support. Because we don't want to admit that we can't do it by ourselves. And the interesting part of that is you're coming out of the military, which is a team sport. And none of the things that we could do, or none of the things that we did on our own. Yet we're trying to do this transition thing by ourselves.
How can someone start building their self-awareness? You said you're a mindfulness practitioner. So what do you believe are the first steps for someone to build that self-awareness so that then they can get into access self-management more effectively?
I think the first thing is slow down. And I'll joke and say, slow down and breathe. But where's the first place to start? And I have some fellow coaches that give me a hard time about this. Start with what you value. Start with you and understanding you, so that way you can start running your own race and not someone else's. So starting with your values, what matters to me, what needs to be part of my life moving forward in this next chapter. Because when you think about your values and you understand what you stand for and what needs to be part of your life, that's the first filter of decision making. What am I going to do next? If I value autonomy, that's going to actually take this whole big slew of options and it's going to narrow it down. And then, you know what? I really value impact. So what does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? And then I value connection. That's one of the reasons you and I are together. That's one of the reasons why we're talking. And then I value security, not only physical security, emotional security, and financial security. So when I start thinking about what's the work that I do, there's a reason I'm in the coaching and consulting space, because it provides me autonomy. It provides me the opportunity to impact other people. It allows me to get connected with cool people that do cool shit. And you know what? It provides security. And that's one of the things the Leadership Research Institute provides, right? It provides me the autonomy to work with the leaders and teams that I want to work with, the leaders and teams that I resonate with, and that I could really impact and get connected to. I'm a Gallup certified strengths coach. So, I spend time in that strengths space. So knowing what you value, knowing what you're really good at, what your areas of genius are, and then to your point earlier, what energizes you? What do you really enjoy doing? Probably is related to what your strengths are, but also what are you passionate about? And what are the problems that matter to you that you want to be part of the solution for? And then who do you want to solve them with? So if you can answer those 5 kind of big questions, what do I value? What are my strengths? What energizes me? What am I passionate about? And what problems do I want to solve? And what's the team that I want to solve them with? That's going to be your personal, purposeful work equation. And that'll allow you to transition faster, because you're going to make choices about your values. You're going to make choices about your strengths. You're going to make choices about what energizes you, the problems that you want to solve, and the people you want to solve them with.
Hey, everybody. I really hope that you liked this supercut of the Post-Military Podcast. If you did and you want to see more, I would recommend that you check out the whole episode, which is here on YouTube and also on multiple different podcasting platforms. If you like this and you want to support the channel, I would ask that you give the video a like, subscribe, and share the content with those who might need to hear it. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.